Tell us a little bit more about you, what you do, and the journey you've been on to get there.
I started, I suppose my story starts back in 2004 when I was working full-time for Halifax Bank of Scotland, now Lloyds Banking Group. I've moved up from London to Yorkshire with my wife, Sharon, who in March 2004 died of a sudden brain hemorrhage. I ended up having 36 hours in Bradford Royal Infirmary before they told me the news for sure. But she'd spoken to me in advance about organ donation, and so when I was asked that question, I of course said yes to respect her wishes. And she went on to save 4 lives, including a little boy of 1.5 who wouldn't have made it to 2 without the smaller part of her liver. And that had a profound impact on me, both that act of generosity to save lives, but also the 36 hours in Bradford Royal Infirmary where I saw amazing compassionate care to me as the family of the patient, which I just didn't expect would exist in a hospital. And it started me on a real journey, and pretty much from the get-go I've been sharing my story with NHS Blood and Transplant to encourage people to have the conversation about organ donation and to tell their loved ones what they want, because actually your loved ones are the ones who will be asked, and if they say no, organ donation won't happen. So I talk a lot about encouraging people to protect their loved ones by telling them what they would like, so they don't have to make that decision at the worst possible time when they're suffering from traumatic grief. So it started me on a journey really of getting involved, being more socially impactful, stopping being just the private sector individual that I was, I suppose. And I embarked on a journey of getting involved with organ donation awareness and advocacy. I joined 2 organ donation committees, Leeds Teaching Hospitals and Mid Yorkshire Teaching Trust as well. I formally became an ambassador for NHS Blood and Transplant. I became a school governor as well at my daughter's school, and it really gave me a taste for doing sort of social good, and I wanted more of it. I ended up becoming a non-exec director on the board at Mid Yorkshire, where I was on the organ donation committee, and that gave me my first taste of being on a real board as a paid non-exec director as well. And that sort of led me on a slightly different journey for my career. Really, I became chair of Relate for Bradford and Leeds, the counselling charity, and that gave me a real taste of becoming a chair. So I got a tap on the shoulder a little while later to considered becoming the chair at Chesterfield Royal Hospital. Had an interesting conversation with my employer as well, Lloyds Banking Group, around if I were to get this, would you support me by me going part-time? And they were incredibly supportive of me to do that. So I was lucky enough to get that role. The chair role at Chesterfield Royal, went part-time at Lloyds Banking Group. And then in June of last year, I thought, I'm really enjoying my public sector role. I took redundancy from the bank, and now I'm very lucky to fill my time doing sort of 3 or 4 things that I really love. I'm the chair of Sheffield Teaching Hospitals, which is 20,000 staff, 1.8 billion budget, one of the biggest trusts in the country. I'm a non-exec director at Westfield Health, which is a health cash plans, insurance and wellbeing business based in Sheffield that does an enormous amount of social good through its status as a mutual. I am on the board for the British Transplant Games, which comes to Sheffield in 2026 in August, and I continue to be an ambassador for NHS Blood and Transplant to create awareness and advocacy for making an organ donation decision, telling your family, and then recording your decision on the organ donor register.
What's one of the best roles you've ever had, and why?
Probably the one I'm in now, and in my last NHS trust, the role of being chair of the organisation and of the board. And it's a real honour and privilege to be a chair of an NHS trust. And Sheffield Teaching Hospitals, as I say, 20,000 staff, 1.8 billion budget, looking after a population of about 600,000 people or more even in Sheffield. but a catchment area of 2 million at least, and seeing 2 million patient visits a year, it's enormous scale and ability to make a difference to people's lives in a very tangible, real way every single day. But not just the patients we serve, but the colleagues, the 20,000 colleagues that we have as well. And also not just from a healthcare perspective. Yes, we are a massive healthcare provider, one of the top 10 in the country for sure, but we're also a large employer, and the difference that we can make as an employer in the local economy is huge as well. So it's, as I say, it's a real privilege to be part of the team and to lead an organisation like Sheffield Teaching Hospitals as chair. Every day I feel very privileged. I feel like I'm making a difference. I feel like I'm meeting amazing people that work in the organisation and finding ways that I can help them be even better and help the organisation be even better as well.
What's one decision you've made that helped align your work with your own values?
Probably blends into maybe two decisions, but one source point, which is the moment I realised, because of the experience that I had gone through in losing my wife and realising the importance of organ donation, when she died, although she had spoken to me about organ donation, so I knew what she wanted, I hadn't made an organ donation decision, and I hadn't registered myself on the organ donor register, I'm ashamed to say. And obviously I have now, but I made that realization that the lived experience I'd gone through gave me something that I could then use, a rare gift that I could then use, and I to do good, and I took that. I used it as fuel, really. And I genuinely believe when you have a traumatic loss like this, it can go in one or two ways. You can either use it, or it can eat you away, and you can retreat a bit. And I was really keen to find a way to positively use the experience I've been through. So that sort of led me on this career journey that I've described already, and I think ultimately has sort of created a career for me, which is much more about being a non-executive than an executive, really. And I think I found my niche, and I can trace that all back to that use of that lived experience, really. And I think that's so important. I think in general within your career, to find that passion, the thing that drives you, the fuel that you have as a person to do what you do. And I've really found that in spades in terms of the journey that I've been on, and it absolutely leads me to a very purposeful and very content working life that I now have, where I know that I really enjoy it, I really make a difference, and I can use what I've been given in a really impactful way.
What's the biggest thing you've done to create or improve social impact?
I would say the work I've done in organ donation, and that's been so varied. So on a very micro scale, it's just talking to someone one-to-one about why organ donation is important. I've equally done large events where I've spoken at conferences. I go to schools and I talk about organ donation. It's now part of the secondary school curriculum as well. Encouraging people, and it's amazing with young people especially, you know, that they are so community minded, and they want to be able to help their community, so they're very keen to be an organ donor. But what's even more special is that they take that conversation home from school and ask their family what they want to do, and tell their family what they would like to do as well. So it creates that conversation in the family environment. But I've done also things like been on the BBC Breakfast Red Sofa and talked about organ donation too. So I've had a whole spectrum of, you know, very micro and very macro opportunities to talk about organ donation, to try and create some advocacy, just create people the opportunity to have the conversation. Even if the answer is no, I don't want to be an organ donor, creating that conversation with their family is so powerful. And linked to that, I think the other really special event I've been involved with for a few years now is the British Transplant Games. So every year we have an event around the country that brings together people of all ages, from age 2 to age 80, that have had a transplant. And you compete for the centre, the hospital that that did your transplant. So here in Yorkshire, there's a Leeds adults team, there's a Leeds children's team, and in Sheffield, where I'm the trust chair, there's a Leeds adults team, and sorry, a Sheffield adults team. And I'm really pleased to say for the British Transplant Games in August, there'll be a Sheffield children's team as well. And I'm delighted to say the British Transplant Games are coming to Sheffield from the 6th to the 9th of August 2026. So that's going to be a really special event for me, coming to where I am an NHS Trust Chair as well. And that brings together transplant athletes with donor families like myself. We give the medal, we award the medals to the winning competitors, with the transplant community, the NHS staff. It's one community coming together, but it's such an incredible celebration of the gift of life as well. And that my first one was in Leeds in 2022, and I've gone every year. And I'm really delighted to be part of the team organising the 2026 games in Sheffield. It'll be the biggest ever, and we'll have 2,500 plus people coming to attend and take part in the games.
Can you share some key milestones or proudest moments in your career?
Becoming a non-exec director at Mid Yorkshire Teaching Trust was a really proud moment for me. It's where I live. It's on my doorstep in Wakefield, and I was really proud to be on the board and trying to make a difference in my community as well. And so that was definitely a real milestone. And when I became a chair at Festival Royal, it's probably the first time I had real imposter syndrome as well, actually. But that was a really special moment. I didn't think that would be a career path. I certainly hadn't envisaged it beforehand, and I certainly felt I wasn't ready for it. But I've loved it. I've loved being a chair of an NHS trust, and becoming chair of Sheffield Teaching Hospitals, as I say, one of the biggest trusts in the country. There's a group of trusts called the Shelford Group Trusts, which are the largest 10 teaching and research hospital trusts in the country, and Sheffield Teaching Hospitals is one of those. And I'm really proud to say, but also a little bit ashamed, that I'm the first person of colour to chair a Shelford Group Trust ever, and it feels like a real glass ceiling moment. But slightly ashamed it's taken so long in this country for that to happen. And I've been really proud to have a few awards along the way as well. So in 2024, I was named one of the top 50 influential Muslims in Europe. And just at the end of last year, the Health Service Journal has an annual list of the top Black, Asian, minority ethnic health leaders. And I was named as one of the 14 rising stars that year. So that was a really proud moment as well. So all of this is a team effort. It's not about you as an individual, but it's nice to be recognised for the work you do and the impact that you make. And yeah, I'd really love to see greater diversity in those leadership roles as we move forwards as well. So I know I won't be the last Shelford Group Trust Chair, but it's a real privilege to be the first.
What's one project or piece of work that taught you a big lesson about impact, and what did you take from it?
I think I've learned a lot through my journey of the power of storytelling, and being able to share your lived experience in a very personal and vulnerable way. It cuts through so well for people to being able to personalize the scenario for themselves. I did an NHS blood and transplant celebration event for colleagues, and to hear that my personal story influenced colleagues there to then go and tell their loved ones, for a group of colleagues whose professional job it was to do blood and organ donation, but still it needed that personal story to trigger their own personal conversation with their family about their organ donation decision, really brought it home to me, really, that the power of lived experience, the power of storytelling to influence and to create impact. And I think what I've also learned is you can have a large social media following, for example, and you can post something which loads of people will read, and then you've got that volume impact of, and we always do it, don't we? What a wonderful campaign, it's had this number of impressions. But I'm not sure impressions or people viewing something is impact, is it? It might impact them, but impact is about the behavioural change that comes on the back of it, and the power of the storytelling to one person that will go and have that conversation with their family versus the power of 10,000 people reading a social media story. But does that really lead to impact? How do you get that balance between volume and quality of impact and behavioral change? I think it's a really interesting lesson that I've learned, really, where maybe scale isn't everything, but the quality of the impact and the behavioral change matters more.
What's a piece of strategic advice you found yourself giving more than once?
Really trying to understand that sometimes you might have a really great idea, and then you'll get frustrated that people aren't understanding it, taking it up, acting on it. But for really great ideas, they will happen. It might not happen that time round. It might not happen next time round. And it might not even happen with you having credit for it next time round. But really great ideas will happen, and sort of having that realization that timing is everything and context is everything. And it's not about whether your idea was great or not. It's contextual, and just giving yourself permission to not be overly upset or concerned that it's not happened that time has really helped me, actually. I got told that as a bit of advice by someone senior in Lloyd's Banking Group many years ago, and it's stuck with me now. I think it's true, and having faith in the idea rather than needing the idea to happen there and then with your credit is quite liberating.
What's one learning from delivering work at scale you think others should know?
When you are delivering something at scale, I think one of the things I always get concerned about is the variation that you see. So things might on average look good, but that hides underneath that loads of local variation. So I always find it's important to try and understand that, and to understand what really good looks like within that variation, and how can you replicate the conditions there elsewhere to make the whole thing better, and where is it struggling, and going and visiting bits of your enterprise, your frontline colleague, whatever it might be, to go and speak to the people on the front line to understand that as well, and have that conversation. So enlightening, and not getting too hung up about what you see in totality or on average, or what's just written in a report, and just to go and test that variation and learn from the extremes, I think is incredibly helpful to drive improvement.
Who or what inspires your approach to creating impact through your work?
Inspiration's a really interesting one, isn't it? So there's a very obvious answer for me, which is my late wife, who did donate her organs, did save 4 lives, did create an incredible legacy, and inspired me to try and do more in that space. So definitely she's been an inspiration for me. I think as well, my wife now, Sarah, also allows me, I mean, she enables me to go and do this impact stuff. I must be quite annoying because I'm going off doing stuff here, there and everywhere to try and attend events and so on. And you do need a family, a support network around you that will enable you to go and do a lot of this work. And she keeps me grounded, and she keeps me modest with this, and she keeps me focused on the inspiration that you need to take into this as well, and enables me to do that. So yeah, that I think that the people that you love and the people that are close to you are really important within that network.
What is the thing that brings you the most work joy?
I think it is the impact. It's, you know, the the knowing that you're making a difference, the ability to listen and indeed to inspire. And so in my current role of chair of Sheffield Teaching Hospitals, because I'm only in month 4 of my time there, so I'm spending a lot of time going around our 5 hospitals and our 40 community sites and meeting some of our 20,000 staff. So the scale is enormous, and it's always inspirational to spend time with frontline colleagues. And if it wasn't clear from my kind of origin story, as it were, around organ donation, the inspiration I got from seeing the frontline colleagues when my wife had died. I was there for 36 hours in hospital, and it was awe-inspiring to see compassionate care in the hospital. And I get the privilege of going to see awe-inspiring compassionate care every day now at Sheffield Teaching Hospitals, and that's also part of my fuel, being able to go and see what an amazing difference our frontline teams make to the patients, and to speak to patients as well. And but what's key is that, knowing you're making a difference, knowing that you're able to listen and inspire and celebrate the excellence that is going on, and hear where there are things that we could do better as an organisation, and take those away. And I think that gives me real purpose, real fuel again, and I really enjoy it. I really enjoy spending time with our frontline colleagues. It's a real honour to be able to do that.
What's your favourite quote that you'd like us to include, and why?
I don't know if I'm allowed to cheat and have 2, but from an organ donation perspective, I'm a big fan of saying to people, your organ donation decision and conversation today can save lives tomorrow, because that's what it's about. It's about just create the conversation now, and there'll be impact down the line, which is so powerful. But my business quote, or professional quote that I love, is the Maya Angelou one. People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And I think that is so true. We've all got personal experiences of not feeling great when people have said or done things, and I think we can all resonate with the fact that the impact that other people have on you can be very positive or very negative. And I'm very conscious of that, and in a role where you're at one level engaging with board members or upwards into the leadership of NHS England, it's really important that we understand, that I understand as a chair, that it is a team. We need everybody to be able to function, and making everyone feel like they belong is so important to me. And we can't do it without all the bits of the jigsaw.